Welcome back to Blundstone Arena, or welcome if you are just joining us for your first game of the day. We're just fresh off a big win from Glenorchy, 6 unanswered goals in the final term to run over Launceston in a massive entree for tonight's main event, which is Lauderdale and Clarence here at Blundstone Arena. Mouth-watering tussle, two teams that do not like each other. No tomorrow for the loser. I'm Damian Gill, bringing this one live. Alongside me is Brent, Costelloe and Cam Brown. Breno just, I think he was in the Gatorade shower in the Glenorchy room, so I'll just welcome your good self, Cam Brown.
Yes, thanks, Damo. Gee, we were excited about that last game, and terrific result for Glenorchy. They stormed home, kicked a barrage of goals in the second half to overrun what would have to be a disappointed Launceston right now. And they certainly seem to have the game at their keeping for the majority of that one, in particular at half-time. You thought they had the arsenal to hold Glenorchy at bay, but don't ever underestimate the Pies, and they'll go on and play North Launceston. And from a Launceston perspective, well, I'll have to sit back now, the coaches and assistant coaches, and watch this one, that being Clarence and Lauderdale, and arch rivals, Eastern Shore derby again. And we had this same game this time last year, Gilly, albeit it was a what was it? It was a qualifying final. And we saw Lauderdale run over the top of the Roos in that one. Contrasting form, I would have thought, these two teams throughout the season. Clarence, particularly, their form early on in the season was terrific, and they just kept on coming and coming, and we were so impressed with their pluck and their persistence, and they had a memorable win over here that we saw against North Launceston, so we know their best is good enough. The second half of the year for them, they've just fallen off a little bit and things haven't gone their way, form and injury in particular. From Lauderdale, well, they had a really slow start, didn't they? But probably on the contrast, their second half of the season's been pretty strong. They've fought their way back and at one stage even looked like they could potentially fight for a top 3 spot. But in the end, they were coming from too far back. But we know from a Lauderdale perspective, their best is pretty good. And we've seen them defeat Launceston. We've seen them defeat Clarence. They've run North Launceston pretty close. They've been a bit of a bogey team for them throughout. But I don't know how you see this one playing out tonight, Gilly.
Yeah, no, it's going to be fascinating. I think you'd have Lauderdale as favourites, just given the personnel Clarence have at their disposal. And they've had a bitter blow with a late out in the form of Ryan Bailey, which really tips the scales towards Lauderdale, because Ryan Bailey been such an influential part of this Clarence team, and he comes up, it's against a really good ruckman, an informed ruckman in Hayden Smith.
Yeah, and that's a blow, not just for Clarence, but for the game. We would have really enjoyed the contest. I would have thought both those boys would have been high up in calculations for the TSL ruckman, along with probably Alex Lee's had a really strong season as well. And so disappointing that we don't get to see Ryan Bailey today. So Clarence will have to manufacture something a little bit different into the centre of the ground as Brent Costelloe makes his way back up from the Glenorchy rooms.
Dripping in Gatorade right in the middle of the team song. He's back, and Breno, we were just talking about the absence of Ryan Bailey and how big that is going to be on this game, and how it tips the ledger the way of Lauderdale.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? Obviously, they've got a good one in Hayden Smith as their ruck, so definitely going to have their work cut out for them, the Roos. Update on Jay Bowden, boys. They're not quite sure how bad it is, so
thanks for the update.
Bit of a wait and see.
Well, and from Glenorchy, why would you give away anything at this particular point in time, even if you knew or feared the worst? You would just hedge your bets a little bit, and these two teams won't be hedging their bets today, though. There's no tomorrow for them, as both teams interchange, making their way there. Jacob Gilby is going to start there. Josh Williams will start also for Lauderdale.
This is a massive game, Brownie. We know when they meet, when it's just 4 points on the line, it's always brings out the best out of these two teams. There's always plenty of niggle.
There's a rumour they don't like each other, Gilly, I think, these two.
Haven't heard that myself. No. I thought they were best of buds. No, they're bitter rivals. They don't like each other at all. And it brings the best out of each other. So even though Clarence don't have their best team out there, I think this is going to be quite the encounter. And I'm tipping Lauderdale. Only tight one, though. So in the middle, we have Jason Bailey in the ruck in the absence of his brother. It's tapped down by Smith. Away they go. Boscott off now. A bouncing ball from Baker. Tipping away. Webberley gets through. Finds Seymour. It's been a big inclusion in this side. Not his best kick, however. Sutton now. Looks to gather the footy out the back. Finds Baker. Then McManus. McManus on the boot. Coming across was Wiley. Didn't quite cut it off. Out it comes through the coach. Webberley asks plenty of Cunliffe. Does well, does Cunliffe. Makes a contest of it. A good fist of it. Hands out the back. Spinning is Sutton. A ball inside 50. Looking for Kerenea. It's punched out. No, kept alive. They do well,
and
the
there's
Roos.
a bit off the ball here between Oscar Shaw and Trent Standen.
There's plenty off the ball, as you say.
All running in. Yeah.
It's Castle. Back with a play. They move it through a web of handballs. In the end, it brought down by Boscott, a crunching tackle. Yeah.
There's plenty going on here, Gill. Jake Cox is in there.
The scuffle in the
Neild's
back half.
in there. Standen's in there.
So, slap down. Back on the far wing. And we'll have another stoppage. Emergency umpire out there. You always know when you see the track pants, it means business. So up it goes again. Smith and Jason Bailey. That's right, Jason, not Ryan. Ryan are laid out. Webberley emerges from the contest. Good kick. Just through the fingers of Cox. McGuinness crunched. Brought down. Red and white from all angles. Down he goes.
Looking forward to seeing how this plays out over the next 4 quarters. Plenty on the line as there was in the last game. Here's Boscott. What a spark he provides this team. Seymour throws it on the boot for Clarence. Mark couldn't be taken by the Bombers. Ball to ground. Dickinson was there. And now the Bombers, can they get it away? They can't. Webberley intercepts. Kick along the ground. Bouncing ball. Anderton throws it on the boot. Juggles and flirts with the boundary. Cunliffe, what's he done there? It's out of bounds. Boundary throw in.
Now, Oscar Shaw had the job on Trent Standen last time these two teams played, which is a big ask for who's probably been the most consistent small forward in the competition in Trent Standen over the last 4 or 5 years. Young Shaw, not even draft eligible until next year, but he's had a solid season.
Here's Boscott. What a star he is. Played plenty of good games on this ground in the past. Inside 50, Havea!
It was a great kick, Boscott, wasn't it, from the breakaway stoppage.
What a star this man is too.
He's a difficult opponent. We've seen him play in the ruck. We've seen him go forward. And he started at the traditional full forward post today and just found some space out the back. Nice deep inside 50.
Wasn't at the club at the start of the year. Made his way back in. TSL Havea directly in front. Will kick from about 25 metres out. And misses.
Disappointing, Breno. Would have been the perfect start.
Would indeed.
So Keegan Wiley, a little one out, finds Howlett. So Howlett has the whole ground ahead of him. In the pocket, a little nudgy kick. Enough to pick out Paprotny. We'll go back for Castle. A few new names in this Clarence side. Their depth really being tested. Long kick out. It's gathered. Brenner now in the long sleeves. Just a little too much on his kick. In fact, out in the full. So be a kick on the far side for Hayden Smith. The switch is on if he's brave enough, but he'll look down the line, you'd think. The big ruckman, much improved. Real solid citizen in this side, off hands and out for a throw.
Jake Cox starting forward for Clarence. Got a great record, hasn't he? He does play deep.
Got a great record, especially against
Lauderdale,
Lauderdale
is what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Yes.
So ball back in. And now they try to get boots of ball, the Bombers. There's Gilby. And now Clarence through Seymour. What a star he's been this year. And Bailey wrapped up. Ball just on the boundary line. Webberley, though, keeps it in. Shrugs off the tackle beautifully. Drives it long inside Clarence's 50. But McManus is there to scoop up for the Bombers. Cox. McManus again. Cox. And gets his own footy back yet again. Brady Jones now. And now Cox again. But that's intercepted on that occasion. Now the chance for the Bombers to bring it out of defence. Ball to ground. Not going too far.
It's tight. The tackling pressure is up from both teams.
What a sight this is too. Fantastic to have a night TSL game here at Blundstone Arena. Nice crowd in as well. Pretty good conditions, not too cold either. Here's Seymour. Oh, sorry, Cunliffe even. And now Clarence have another chance to bring it into attack. But McGuinness does well. Sutton. And now Wiggins. What's he got on offer? Good mark out in front. Havea.
Oh, Mosquito in all sorts.
Havea drives it long. Mosquito! No.
He had literally the 50, just a little slow getting there.
How good was that shot on the front of the paper the other day, lads, with the Indigenous boys up on Mount Wellington?
Mosquito and Karanea was fantastic.
In the short sleeves too. Very brave indeed. So we await the ball in again. And Havea wins it down. Gilby! Jacob Gilby! Lauderdale off to the perfect start.
You called Brownie pre-game that he might be the leading goal kicker tonight.
Yeah, I just thought he's been running into some form, and he had a breakout game against North Hobart. Probably could have kicked 9 or 10 on that occasion, but just his experience, that's why they would have loved getting him back via Gold Coast and Adelaide Central Districts, and it was a really smart kick around the body, wasn't it? And normally he makes his possessions count. Averaged probably a couple of goals for the game this season. It was a smart finish.
So back in the middle again. Handed out by Bell Chambers, an explosive player. Comes along from Franklin. Havea best position almost through his fingers. Gilby sniffing around this one. Soccer's out the back. Alex Hill, interesting. Offline.
They look threatening already. Lauderdale, and they're quite happy to go long and deep with their forward 50 entries, trying to catch Clarence out over the back.
So plays on to himself, does Wiley. Goes long.
Oh,
Climbing over the top was Wiggins. Didn't bring it down. Heavey over the top. Alex Hill now. Inside, it should be laid claim by Harper. He does. So Harper now. It's
good
to the
switch.
outer wing. It is a good switch. Picks out Neild. So Neild.
He's an important player for them, Gilly Neild.
he's been brilliant this year. What a pickup from the Tigers.
He has been a good pickup. Kicks forward.
Did those lights just go out of
Something's
fraction?
going on with the lights. The kick forward finds Dickinson. Dickinson, soccering was standing. Picking up was Bell Chambers. Navigates one. Hands off to McManus. McManus now for Sutton. Sutton over for Heavey. Heavey now. Just whacks it on the boot. Looking in Gilby's direction. Timely fist. Williamson now. Tries to get rid of a couple of opponents. He's gone. No, he isn't, says the umpire. Ball up.
Early stages. He just looks on for mine, Jacob Gilby.
What a nice little addition he's been as well to this Lauderdale lineup, Brownie. And you get a former AFL player just wandering in. Not too bad. Here's Karanea. Karanea throws it onto the boot. No, not on this occasion. It's drifted away out of bounds.
So I'm informed that they're working on the lighting, so something's just gone awry, but they're onto it. Still see things clearly.
Carl Saunder in charge of that.
I think it'd probably be venue staff, Brent.
Here comes the ball in again. Tap down, Birchall. Williamson. And now that's out of bounds. Right in the forward pocket for Lauderdale.
Here they come.
That looks better.
It's more like it.
Very
The
nice.
players will have to acclimatise.
So will Simon, our cameraman. Different white balance, maybe. It's a real change of lighting. In it comes a real sort of low sort of throw in. Clarence get it out of danger and out of bounds.
Still going on a little bit here with Trent Stanton and Oscar Shaw off the ball. Mitch Anderton picking up Dickinson for Clarence.
So Lauderdale lead it 1-8. Clarence yet to score. Now Havea taps it down. Sutton got the kick away. Heavey chases it now and out of bounds.
So we saw Bailey take that initial ruck, Jason Bailey, but he's being picked up at full forward at the moment by Ryan Wiggins.
Blundstone Arena bathed in light. Magnificent sight. And now what can Lauderdale muster here? Right in their attacking zone. Kiranay is right at the bottom of the pack. And the ball up again.
Well, the majority of the footy has been played. We're 11 minutes in this first quarter, but I'd say 80% of it's been played in the front half for Lauderdale.
So ball up again. Smith taps over the top. Almost there for Harrison. Not quite. Oh, that's a crunching tackle from your ruckman. Big Smith just with great follow-up work there.
So Lauderdale...
There's another whistle there.
Lauderdale have an extra player at the stoppage here, and that's because Clarence have got Williamson playing loose in defence as the extra man.
So underneath that is Heavey.
He just swapped over with his Clarence teammate. But Clarence still with +1 behind the footy.
So Havea to duel with Birchall. Up they go. Havea taps down nicely, but they'll emerge through Sharman. Clarence dropped off by Stanton. That's electric stuff. A long kick in. It was a nice one, but it favours Raglione. He got a hand in the back maybe, but Neil does well, butters up. He'll pick it up again, slipping and sliding, and seen out by Anderton.
Just running into a bit of form, Mitch Anderton. I thought he was good last week against North Launceston, probably his best game. He's probably been back for 3 or 4 games now since coming back from a knee injury, which unfortunately cruelled his Allies campaign at under 18 level.
So down from Birchall. Sutton now picks it up. An important player, Sutton, gives him a lot of outside drive. Kick forward, gathered by Williamson off his toes. Now with Jones. The helmeted skipper, that's a delightful kick to find Neil. Neil keen to get going. Such is his style, looking for Birchall. Havea deals with it, picks up the ball. McGuinness runs into trouble, has Anderton as an outlet. Anderton, nice kick.
Real good.
Yeah, that's what he does so very well. His ability to hit short targets, lower his eyes.
Raglione over the top to your man Gilby. Here he goes. Gilby long inside 50. Boscott couldn't complete the grab. Good work there by Castle. Away they come from this one, Clarence. It's with Paprotny. A little one over the top. Brenner with the juggle. Gathers in the end. Silva. He was cautious, but he did nicely, Silva. Oh, nice jump and stop there by Baker. Aggressive attack on the footy. High tackle from Bellchambers. That's a let-off. So Budgie Jones.
Great
Switches
kick.
it right up to Holmes. Holmes has the run of a couple, uses Wiley. Wiley looking in the Cox direction. Doesn't quite get to him. Out of play, throw in.
Lauderdale happy to have Josh McGuinness on Jake Cox. He's had a terrific year, Josh McGuinness, hasn't he, boys? Such a composed player with ball in hand. Good decision maker by hand or foot. Good driver in heavy traffic, as they say.
Damian Gill's favourite player in the comp. Just ask him, he'll tell you.
Who, Josh McGuinness?
Yes.
I would have thought Alex Hill. I'm a big Alex Hill fan. I like Josh McGuinness.
You listen back to the Third Man Up podcast, I reckon Josh McGuinness would cop a lot more mentions than Alex Hill.
Because he plays a lot of good footy, Brent.
That's right.
And he's...
So I suggested he might be your favourite player as we get underway again. And now Wiggins. Clarence turn it over. Pack forms. Seymour. Good smother by Baker out of bounds.
Boys, it's not dissimilar, is it, to the earlier game? 15 minutes in, and we saw Glenorchy kick an early goal and have another couple of chances. And on this occasion, it's Lauderdale, albeit a low-scoring game.
So Havea just pushed Birchall out the way. Now McManus inside the centre square. Oh, Mark couldn't be taken. Here's Mosquito. He's electric. Couldn't do much with it on that occasion, though. Castle, Jones, the skipper, pops it forward to Neild. Couldn't hang on to it. Gets it back, though. Does well. Howlett.
Nice kick.
Oh, very nice kick. Spots up Harper. Harper finds Neild. No, sorry. Neild's back here.
Young
Silver.
Silver, I reckon.
Well, he can kick goals, this man.
Well, he has. He's just probably lost his way a little bit in the second half of the season.
We saw that game at KG5, Brownie, where he was a late inclusion, a bit like Rowbottom today in the earlier game. Just came in and dominated.
But he does bob up and often gets in goal-scoring opportunities. He's missed that one, though.
He's pushed it far away, and mark taken by Wiggins in the last line of defence.
Gee, he got close to the man on the
He
mark.
did.
Jeez, he sent that one high too.
He's high. Couldn't control it. Lauderdale.
Oh,
They do well, though.
Gee,
Nat Franklin
wow.
does really well. Gilby pops it over. And now they've got some time and space here, the Bombers, and that's play on. And holding the ball. A few loose options there, so a bit of a let off. As we see Holmes spot up Seymour. Fletcher Seymour across from the old Scholars. Earlier in the year, tries to spot up the coach, Jeremy Webberley, at out of bounds.
Nick Baker with a nice defensive spoil. He's another player that's come back into the Launceston, the Lauderdale team after a stint with the Allies at under 18 level. We played him more midfield, Lauderdale, over the last month, and he's been in pretty good form, boys.
Nice crowd in the house for a Saturday night. You see that pocket over there of people standing. You know, there's a few here when you've got standing room only over there. There's Jones, collects. And he gets a great kick. He spots up his teammate. And it's Troy Cunliffe. He wheels around, pops it high in the air. Neild's lurking. A lot of players are, though, and a good mark taken by the Bombers. And Anderson will get the footy. Anderson pops it forward on Williams. Heavy's on the lead, but he ignores that, Williams, and goes further afield. Down the line. Gilby's there, but it's all Clarence. Mark wasn't taken, though. Karanaya, Gilby, Mosquito. But Cunliffe does well. High tackle. That's high. Yes, it is. Free kick.
Just waited for it a little bit there, Mosquito. Away they come, though, Clarence. Cunliffe, geez, he hasn't got his kicking boots on today. Bell Chambers, will he make him pay? You betcha! That is a costly error in defence from Cunliffe. And Lauderdale kick their second.
Well, he's had a very good season, and certainly his best season at TSL level. He's been building early on in his career. He's had utility player, might run him off half back or put him in half forward. But he's become one of the informed midfield players of the competition, Gilly.
No question about it. Burst player with real
He's
raw
powerful,
power.
isn't he?
Yeah, power in his game. And what we saw just there is what he can do on a regular basis. So back in the middle.
And again, boys, gets the goal straight off the ground. Up we go. Smith. It's all the Roos here in this part, but Lauderdale off to a good start. 2 goals, 2 to no score. What can the Roos do now? They'd love a goal here just to settle things down. Great mark there.
He's brave, that kid in the air. Don't worry about that. He'll never shirk the issue.
And now Lauderdale have it here on the wing. Lamses. And now Howlett, though, turns it over. Spots up Jones. Brady Jones pops it up. And mark can't be taken. McManus does well. Controls it for Lauderdale, and now they're out of trouble. Franklin takes the mark. A little bit dewy out there now, maybe, boys.
Nice kick on the left there from Robbie McManus.
So Franklin, star of the comp. Had a great year And out of bounds, boundary throw in. So almost time on, 14-point margin.
So you're wrapped if, what would Oscar Shaw be, boys? Probably a 16, 17-year-old kid to go back with a fly of the ball and stand underneath that. He's done that right throughout his early career.
And he's brave, no question about it. Smith down from the throw in. Trying to run through it was Bailey. Lost the ball in the process. Weberly and McManus now collide for it. Standon arrives. Shaw now. Kicking in the Smith direction. Tracking it down was Karanaya. Alex Hill spinning and turning. A kick inside 50. Over the back is McGuinness trying to deal with Holmes. Holmes just paddles it towards Cox. Forward now by Cunliffe. Long in the Williamson direction. Off hands and gathered by Sutton. Sutton now inside 50. Boscott the target. It's dealt with, but maybe not dealt with enough. In the back of Karanaya or holding the ball? Holding the ball, says the umpire. A good tackle.
I think from a Clarence perspective here, Gilly, they just love a goal just to settle the nerves a little bit. They certainly want the next one. They wouldn't want this one to get out to the 20-point lead for the Bombers.
So Edmondson, he's missed a lot of footy.
Great kick.
Not great, but this one is. Alex Hill on a platter for Gilby. Gilby will line up for his second of the day.
Trying to milk a 50 here.
What's
not going to get it.
Bit of chaos. Some people saying it's touched.
Reminds me of that game at Aurora Stadium all those years ago. Chris Connolly comes wandering out with his arms up in the air. Siren
gate.
I was there that day. Fascinating.
Nice kick, wasn't it, from Alex Hill, just to lower the eyes, reward the oncoming lead from Jacob Gilby.
So Gilby crosses the paint of 50. Not bad off the boot, but just lets it hang to the left.
Let me down when you need a prediction like that, Gilly. Make that before the game. You'll want him to kick those.
So bring it back into play.
15-point buffer. 2-3-15. No score to Clarence. So they bring it in the Roos. And the kick isn't great. It's going to end up in Lauderdale's advantage here. And now Gilby gets it away. Now Mosquito. Heavey. Alex Heavey, the veteran of the club, has put it out in the full.
And he doesn't use his left too often, Alex Heavey. He's normally clever enough to get back onto his preferred right side. And he did, in fairness, try to screw it around across his body.
So again, the Roos out of defence.
Oh.
But again, it's going to go to Lauderdale. And the umpire's blowing the whistle here. Free kick going the way of Sutton.
Gee, he had Gilby on.
And Sutton finds Alex Heavey. We're never going to say Alex Heavey can't kick a goal at this ground ever again, Brownie,
It's not
after that.
far away from where he kicked it. It was maybe a little bit more inside.
Yes.
Towards the 50-metre mark, 50-metre symbol.
You won't get it on this occasion. He puts it to the top of the square. Gee, that was a big leap from Thor Boscott. Still alive here. That was huge. He's just electric, isn't he, Thor?
He's got that power. He's
Love
always
watching.
dangerous when he can run and jump at the footy.
Talk about favourite players in the comp. It's hard to go past Thor Boscott. He's popped himself in the ruck here with Williamson. Gets it out of the air, Thor. But Clarence do well. Still alive for the Roos. They just flirt with the boundary, and in fact it's out of bounds on the full. So Lauderdale will take the kick through Reece Sutton. What will he do here? Can't be too much longer left in this
Sit it up, I
quarter.
would have thought, about 15 metres from the top of the goal square.
That's exactly what he does, Brownie. Well said by you, and it's gone straight down the throat of the Clarence Roos. So, yeah, don't think there'll be too much longer to go on this. Oh, dear, oh, dear, oh, dear.
Maxi,
And Alex Hill's been called to play on. He's thrown on the boot. What a comedy of errors just there.
why was he called to play on?
I don't know.
I
I
thought he
don't
went back.
know.
Well, I think it was, but anyway.
What happened there?
Well, I reckon, Brent, you've called it when Clarence had been trying to penetrate deep in defence, they've just turned over the ball.
Yep.
Whether it be deep or short, and a bit of a let-off there for them.
Worrying signs for Clarence, I reckon.
Big time.
Yeah, I mean, Lauderdale should be further in front, 6 scoring shots to zip.
So Holmes just powers it along the boundary line.
They're kicking it, hoping, aren't they?
Not that we've got the stats, boys, but I would have thought, we're 25 minutes in, I would have thought 80% of this game has been played in the Lauderdale forward half. Clarence have probably only had 3 or 4 inside 50 entries when it's all said and done.
It is a popular stat in footy these days, time in forward half.
And they're dominating in that particular area at the moment, the Bombers.
No surprise, the ruck advantage. I think that's one that's going to pay dividends for Lauderdale as long as the game goes. It'll be another stoppage here.
And that's a difficulty sometimes from Clarence when you'd love to Jake Cox is out on the ground, wouldn't you? Because when he's deep forward, sometimes you miss his run and carry through the midfield.
So it's gathered by Cunliffe. Hands it out for Jones. He started well, leading from the front. Brent up, swings a kick along. Plenty of numbers, mostly in red and black. Franklin takes the grab inside 50. The kick favours Edmondson, but Gilby picked his pocket and kicks the goal. It's looking like a Lauderdale night, and it's looking like a night for Jacob Gilby as well. He started on fire in this quarter. He's kicked 2 of their 3.
Well, he's kicked his second. He was caught from behind, but was able to spoil it and then really manufacture a goal out of nothing. His Clarence opponent was hanging on to him, but he's always had really smart forward craft as a junior. Remember, an under-18 game, kicked 5 goals against South Australia, and on the back of that game, he probably got himself drafted to the Gold Coast, but he looks a dangerous player for mine. Williamson now with a job on him.
Back underway in the middle. Can the Roos get one before quarter time? Their coach, Jeremy Webberley, to Bailey. Bailey, what's he got inside 50? Not heaps. Cox, though, does well. Under pressure. Handball's off. Standing from a very awkward position. It's touched. Did well.
The issue with Ryan Bailey out, apart from the obvious, Brownie, is they have to rob Peter to pay Paul a little bit to put the other Bailey
That's right.
in there as well, which is a massive blow considering the targets Lauderdale possess inside 50.
Jason Bailey.
Free kick. And go to Smith. Yeah, it's a little bit obvious.
So Hayden Smith. Here's Sutton. Right in front of us. Big kick.
Jeez, Gilby's
Boss Scott sets himself. Williamson. Boss Scott's still there. There's the siren. So very impressive start to this match for Lauderdale. 7 scoring shots to 1 in the opening term. They lead at 3-4-22 to 1 behind.
Yeah, look, they totally dominated that quarter and repeat inside 50 entries for them. Some of their hands in particular, we saw Franklin got his hands on the footy. He's so creative by hand. We saw Bell Chambers with a powerful goal on the run. And Jacob Gilby's looked dangerous right from the word go. So some concerns, I would have thought, for Clarence. I like the work of some of the foot skills of Anderton down back. I thought Shaw was really brave in the air a couple of times and belied his young years. Robbie Manis also found some footy. So it's a lot to like about that quarter. If you're Lauderdale, if anything, Gilly, they probably would have liked to have been a couple of goals further in front and maybe had a couple of half chances, and maybe we're looking for a 30-point plus lead. Clarence, they just couldn't get their hands on the footy, and they were unable to transition the ball out of the back half, and they're probably their own worst enemies by foot. I just thought their disposal let them down badly. It cost a goal with Bell Chambers. It was a Cunliffe errant kick from memory, and also they just weren't able to transition the ball, and for them it became a real struggle. And really, I reckon they only had 4 or 5 inside 50 entries, and they weren't able to mark the ball. I can't recall anyone marking the footy inside the forward 50 for them. So they're going to have to regroup. But having said all that, it's only 21 points of margin. And what we have seen in TSL footy this year is just how often and how quickly teams, when they get on a roll, can score. And if one thing that we have to be measured about in terms of writing off Clarence after one quarter is their ability to stay in the contest, hang around, scratch, fight, scramble a few goals, and then all of a sudden they're back into this game. Because there was a couple of games that we've done on the stream, Gilly, and what's been so impressive for them is been their ability to hang in there and stay in the contest, and they're going to need to do that today.
No question. Count out Clarence at your own peril. I 100% agree with you there, Cam Brown. It is, however, a strong advantage to Lauderdale early in this game. Quarter time, 3-4-22. Their goal kickers, 2 to Jacob Gilby and 1 from Phil Bellchambers. Clarence yet to kick a major, just the one behind. So a 21-point lead to the Lauderdale Bombers. The battle of these two bitter Eastern Shore rivals in an elimination final. Stay with us. We'll have a brief break before getting into the second quarter. So back for the second term. The first one belonged to Lauderdale. Now it is Clarence's to answer.
Well, they need a response, don't they, boys, early on in this game or in this quarter.
So ball in the middle. Smith and Bailey. Smith, the recognised ruckman, and taps like it. There will be a free kick for Boscott. Shirt held by Seymour. So Boscott, enigmatic player.
We've actually started with Bellchambers forward.
That
Deep
kick
forward in this quarter.
Don't mind it.
doesn't find its target. Holmes cuts it off, as he so often does. Picks out Wiley. Wiley off for the runner, Castle. Castle bounding off half-back. A bouncing ball for Brenner. Does okay. Taps it on. Cut off by Karanea. Seymour does well. Bailey, hot for Weberly to handle. He runs out of tarmac. Will be thrown in. Boundary really a sanctuary there for Weberly. So he'll be thrown in. Smith, he's starting to exert himself in this one, but Bailey, the makeshift ruckman, does well. He falls for Franklin. That's not his best kick. Heavy over his head. Swatted away. Smith picks it up. A big booming boot. Looking for Bellchambers. Punched clear by Edmondson. Drops for Karanea. A zig and a zag.
He's got a free kick for
And
too
he's
high.
got a free kick, as you say, Cam Brown. So Karanea will line up.
Yeah, I thought there was an opportunity to give an instinctive handball to Mosquito, who was running past, running into dangerous space. But not what they needed, was it, the Roos? Just a 50-50 situation and a contest they wanted to neutralise, and unfortunately for them, Karanea with a, I would have thought, a fairly elementary shot in front of goal here, Breno.
Karanea wandering on in. Been a big inclusion into this club, him and Tim Mosquito. And for that very reason, puts it through. Fourth for Lauderdale, first of the term. They're on fire.
Yeah, some real dangerous signs. I know we're only 2 minutes into the second quarter, but they've just totally dominated this game at Lauderdale in the first quarter and a bit. Clarence just need to get their hands on the footy. They've got Brady Jones at this centre bounce, and he's been really damaging early on in that first quarter by foot. And they need him to get his hands on the footy. So too the coach, Weberly. Do that again, Cobber.
Just got to wax it, I reckon. Just throw it up. Just throw it up.
He will. Up it goes. Smith easily wins that one down. Big tackle from Jeremy Weberly. Another ball up.
And that's where it hurts you, doesn't it, with Smith, the big body. Clarence having to manufacture something in the ruck with the loss of Ryan Bailey. And it gives the opportunity for Baker and Boscott and these sorts of players to get their hands on the footy.
So they're away here. Lauderdale again. Heavy wrapped up though and holding the footy.
Good tackle.
That was a good tackle.
Young Propotny.
He's been okay too. He's only played a handful of games at the level.
Here's Fletch Seymour. Right to the paint of 50 and nice mark taken.
This is where I think you go to Trent Stanton if you're Clarence.
So the ball's pumped in for the Roos. And no one could get it, but it's gone out the back. Bailey can't control it and out of bounds.
He's actually on too, Trent Stanton, on the lead, but it wasn't honoured.
So 27-point buffer under lights here.
Close game over at Optus, boys.
Big ramifications there if Collingwood lose that to Freo.
Fingers crossed.
Oh,
they
look
do.
at this. Cunliffe. Free kick. Yeah, some very big games in the AFL this weekend. Tonight's Sydney Hawthorn game, Brownie, will be enormous.
Two
as far as the
outs
top
in
eight.
that too, Parker and Buddy. So
Wow. Gee whiz, that's huge. He called it with Franklin early today at Gilly. I know it's been around all week, but there was a bit of talk he would line up. Anyway, back to this game, and Heavey gets a toe to it. Holmes, Mr. Reliable, of course. Seymour again has been busy. And good mark taken at the back.
Yeah, well done, Nick Baker.
Here's McGuinness. Anderton. Backwards again.
Oh, great
Yeah.
kick, Robbie.
Done well, and Shaw takes it. And look at this. Wiggins all on his own out here. What will he do? He goes down further afield, looks for Havea. Havea does well. Clever. Does a nice cheeky handball over the top. Baker couldn't get there. Does in the end. Wiggins. Ryan Wiggins has a real good look at it. Has a real good look at it. Punch through.
Gee, it looked like it was going to go the journey.
It did.
Gee, it was a nice build-up, wasn't it? On the back of a Nick Baker intercept mark. And Oscar Shaw, that's probably the issue in Oscar Shaw's game in the early stages of his career, would be that 20-metre kick. But he was able to hit that. That's good for his confidence.
Roos get it back in. Desperate for a goal here. Season on the line in this game. Elimination final.
And they're a goal, don't they, the Roos?
Desperate. They've had a really good start to the season, didn't they, Clarence? Raced out of the blocks. So here they go. Webley sees it over.
Just had nothing offering on there, Fletcher
No.
Seymour. He had to look back and in the end got himself into a little bit of trouble. But
And you wonder how long you do persist with Jake Cox. I mean, I love him forward, but when your team's down at the moment, the temptation must be to just throw him in the midfield, get his hands on the footy, break the game open a little bit with his penetrating long left foot kick.
you're dead right, Brownie. They've got to get him around the footy. Squeezes out, comes to Franklin. Franklin assesses his options.
Wow.
Havea climbs over the top, almost takes the grab. Edmondson brings
That's
it out
not
of
a good
defence. That's a shocker. Straight to Williams.
He's just got to think his
got
way through
Anderton
this.
offering wide. He opts to just put it out in front of Havea. It was a very good kick. He protected the ball there, Havea, but couldn't complete the grab. Scampers it back into the middle. Gilby, he's been on song, and he's got a free kick. It's a Gilby sort of night.
Well, a wise man once said before the game, off out.
So Jacob Gilby. Cam Brown just with a real bit of wobble and swagger going on over here because he did call Jacob Gilby to
He's humble, isn't he, Brownie?
be the five-star, to be the
Very humble.
one inside forward 50 doing the damage. So Jacob Gilby is finding some form. Last week kicked a very good goal out of bursting in the square, even trying him a little bit in the middle. So Jacob Gilby skips on in,
He's leant
gives
back
it a
on
ride,
He's kicked it.
leant back. It's all coming up, Gilby. They're up and about, Lauderdale
Well, that's
and
his.
Clarence. Geez, they're in a bit of a hole here, Brownie.
Yeah, that's his third Jacob Gilbert. He looked very dangerous. And he copped a heavy knock last week too, Gilly, against North Launceston, and he was down. But came back on and kicked a goal. And just his experience. He's got really smart forward craft. He knew if he picked that footy up, that he would have been tackled straight away. So just had the presence of mind to knock it into a bit of space and drew the free kick, and most importantly, finished off with a goal. And just as we called it, boys, Jake Cox is now in the centre of the ground for the Roos.
Not sure what the biggest story is here today. Jay Bowden's injury, Lauderdale's hot start here, or the fact that Damian Gill does not eat lollies. Extraordinary. So what can Clarence muster? They just need to score, get on the scoreboard in some fashion. Harper wheels around. Can someone gobble this up for them? Not right now, the coach though. He's out the back. Can he do something miraculous here?
Great kick.
Really good kick. Can Bailey get there? Lands on it. So does everyone else though, that's the problem.
And this is
He's going to ping it in.
the trouble for the Roos. It's a 34-point margin, and your confidence needs to be built on the back of scoreboard pressure. Otherwise, there becomes an element of doubt and frustration, and you almost try too hard.
Bailey and Smith. And now Bellchambers does well. Sutton back to Bellchambers. And again, Lauderdale are away. Right to the wing. Castle going back with a flight. Boscott lands on his back and he'll get the free kick. So 10 scoring shots to 9. It's been all one-way traffic in this elimination final.
They just haven't been able to take a mark inside the forward 50, the Roos, but
Williamson New inclusion to this Clarence lineup this season. That's a dangerous old kick. Oh, that could be a free kick for sure. And Karanaya will get it. And he's got loose men everywhere. Look at this. Gilby went over his head. Boscott, was he interfered with? Umpire says no. Williamson does well. But he's kicked it straight down the throat of Karanaya. He's got options everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. And finds one in the end. So it's Josh Williams.
He's a great runner, Josh Williams. He can run and carry the footy. This is probably an area of a game that it's still got a bit of upside to come, I would have thought. That's his finishing.
Let's watch this. Right behind it. That's off to the right. Can someone get the mark? A lot of players left for it. Hill's there. McGuinness is there as well. All up. So 10, almost 11 minutes gone. Second term. Winner of this game to meet Launceston next week. Oh, here's Hill. Turns around and kicks a goal. Lauderdale on fire at Blundstone.
Tough to make a case for Clarence from here, Brandy.
Oh, it is. It's 40 points, and the only thing that stops you from saying this one is beyond them has been their form throughout the year when they have been down at certain stages, particularly early on in the season, and they just managed to scrap and fight and hold on and then develop some scoreboard pressure, and they had some famous victories, didn't they? But look, it's getting some real dangerous signs now for the Roos. They're just not winning the footy. They aren't able to generate any inside 50 entries. Their disposal out of the back half, Williamson with a couple of costly turnovers there on that occasion, it just gave Lauderdale a free hit.
Avea straight out of the ruck, just powers it inside 50. It's all Clarence. Edmondson with the fist, out the back. Mosquito buzzing around it. Picking up was Cunliffe. It'll come back to him. We'll bring it out of defence. Ball blocked by Wiggins. Cox now hasn't been too involved. Hands off to Cunliffe. A run, a bounce, a couple. Long, looking in the Neil direction. Makes a contest of it, Neil. Keeps his feet. Hands off to Harper. Harper with a look at the sticks. Long, and too wide. A minor score. The second of the game.
And here's a player who can kick goals for them. Dickinson's another. Ooh, kneeled. And they just need to try and find a way to get on the scoreboard.
A pokey little kick over the top from Baker to McManus, but it works. McManus now. It's an energised Lauderdale. They smell blood.
That's a free kick.
That is a free kick. For block, says.
I just reckon they've got to give Trent Stanton a chance. Maybe try and get him one out in the goal square.
Interesting when they switched Cox into the middle as well. McGuinness followed him, so he's just going to have to deal with McGuinness wherever he goes as the ball comes in. Here he is, that man Cox. Can he get him started? Sure, courageous, and through for a minor score.
His defensive spoiling, only young in his career, but gee, it's a key feature of his game. He seems to have a long reach where he's able to just get in, Dale Morris-like.
So back in it comes. Pack forms, good mark.
Okay, so he's just got to lower his eyes here, try and find a target.
What's on offer for Edmondson? Top of the square. It's all Lauderdale again, though. Players dive on top of it. Not going anywhere. It'd be a disappointing way for Clarence to go out if this trend continues throughout the evening.
You know, the longer they take the score, the more you lose your confidence as a group.
Avea all on his own there. And now McGuinness. Ball just with the boundary and out of bounds. So
one thing they do have, Lauderdale, though, Gilly, they've had a core group of players that have come through underage level. Mariners, state under 16, state under 18s, and now have had 6 or 7 years of playing together, minimum with each other.
Bailey and Havea. Bailey won it on that occasion. Anderton, what a superstar young gun he is. Hill and Williamson, another boundary throw in.
Fremantle looks a bit proppy there, Anderton.
Yeah, well, he has had his issues. It looks like he's having trouble high up on the left leg there.
Bailey, big punch. Sorry, Gilly.
No, good, mate.
All yours.
But Gilly, they've got a lot of experience, haven't they, when you look at, we've mentioned Alex Hill a few times, Boscott, McManus, Heavey, these sorts of boys have played so much footy together. Gilby more so at junior level with some of those players that we just named.
Then they have the next generation down with Franklin, the likes of Baker involved. Helps. Coming through now, McManus. That was creative. And they'll move it out. Will Clarence. Nicely done from Cunliffe. Leaning on it was
Webley.
trying to pick out who that
Webley.
was. No, two Webley.
Oh, sorry.
42. I couldn't pick out who it was. Webley will line up though. That's all that matters.
You know, it was Daniel Remus. It was a nice kick too, wasn't it? Inside to hit up the target inside 50.
Yeah, Remus. Yeah, I think you're right. It was Remus. So Webley marching on in. The first for Clarence. To say they need it would be a gross understatement. And that just about sums up their dirty night as it stands. Another minor score.
Well, that's a shame from a Clarence perspective because they just needed that to settle them. Because if Lauderdale kick the next couple of goals here, then it really just does become insurmountable, you would think, from a Clarence perspective, even though it's only halfway through the second quarter.
So Wiggins to himself and long and high. Bellchambers arrived, as did Bailey. Didn't complete the grab. It's a wrestle on the ground now. His stoppage.
It's probably been the best 4 or 5 minutes of the game, though, having said that, for Clarence. They've just been able to neutralise it a little bit in some of the 50-50s. They've been able to get a few inside 50 entries. They just haven't been able to capitalise on the scoreboard.
So away they come from the stoppage. Harper kicks inside 50. A bouncing ball. Speedy Standard. Can he get into the game? There's been a goal sneak of great quality for a number of years. That's Sharman. He thought he completed the mark. Not to be. Red and black swarm. The ball up. Right near goal. Brent Costelloe.
37-point margin. All one-way traffic. They've had it up there, 14 to the ground though, for a little while now. They just can't hit the scoreboard. Can they now through Harper? Harper gets it out. And having a look at it, the Clarence Roos, and they get their first of the afternoon through Paprotny. So they've finally hit the scoreboard. It's taken a long time, lads, but they've got there.
Yeah, an important reward for effort there, wasn't it? And they did had some repeat inside 50 entries, and they were able to just lock it in their front half for a couple of minutes. But it was an important goal for them, and cuts a margin of 31 points. And now they just need to drill down, try and get a centre bounce clearance, and get some repeat entries and scoreboard pressure on Lauderdale. A long time coming though, wasn't it? Almost 50 minutes into this game before their first major.
Long time coming. And a long way to go. As this bounce will be recalled, they'll go again. Over 5 goals still adrift. So a huge amount to climb for Clarence. But we did see Glenorchy climb a similar one in the game before. Should prove a cautionary tale for Lauderdale. They wrap them up in a tackle.
You're right.
From Hayden Smith.
From a Lauderdale perspective, you've got to respect your opponents, which I'm sure they will. Because you know Clarence, their history has been that they will keep coming. And Lauderdale, the best way to snuff that out is obviously to return the favour with some scoreboard pressure. And they've got an opportunity from the breakaway here.
Franklin farms it out the back to Sutton. So often the runner for them. In the Lance's direction. Cut off by Holmes. He powers inside 50. It's cut off, and now it's a contest between Shaw and Howlett.
Well, this is nothing, boys. Look what happened this afternoon.
That's
Glenorchy
right.
came from the same margin down and won by 14 for those just joining us. So Anything can happen.
But it will take their very, very best, Clarence. We talked about Glenorchy being undermanned. That's Clarence's tail too. So through they go. Baker tries to get hands out. Seymour just made something of nothing, unfortunately. It ends with out on the full.
Well, that's okay. I mean, they get an opportunity to set up. And they are trying to drive the ball forward here at the moment, the Roos. It's been their best period of the match, the last 5 or 6 minutes.
So long it comes. Bailey makes a contest. Hands out by Reamers. Comes to Weberley. He spilt it just as he was looking to get it on the boot. Lampsis now. He has leg speed. Finds Williams. Clever slapping it on the boot. It's led in McManus. He has a bit of time and space to work with. The kick meant for Havea was far from McManus's best out in the full.
No, he's normally pretty assured these days by foot, Robbie McManus.
So Holmes now with the ball. Defensive 50. Little one over the top for Seymour. He's been busy. Just not in the right areas of the ground for Clarence. Finds Harper. Harper has Weberley screaming for it. Opts to go longer, and why not?
Good kick. Ooh.
In acres of space with Sharman, not his best handball, but he'll receive it back from Silver. A kick inside 50, tied up against the boundary. A punch from Sutton, and out it goes.
Pretty well organised, aren't they, in the back half, Lauderdale? Seem to be able to cut off the angles really well.
So it'll be thrown in. Forward 50 for Clarence. They're needing goals desperately. When they've got the game in their sway, it's Bailey underneath all that. And a crunching tackle.
Just starting to feel the temperature dropping on about you boys from about 4 hours earlier.
Yeah, no, it's
How about
chilly.
Cam Brown forgetting to bring a Parker? Goodness me,
Well,
rookie error.
And left it in the car, which is even more ridiculous to even think of it.
Harper does his best to keep it alive. Unfortunately can't. So 1-4-10, Clarence. Lauderdale 6-5-41. They've were running hot in the first quarter and the start of this quarter. They have just had a decent little patch here, Clarence, but they need to maximise it. Bailey down. Reamers off the ground. Comes out the back. Maybe in the back there from Weberley.
No, you got to play
the
it.
ball. Ball!
So
So it's going to be a Weberley kick.
And this becomes a really important kick, doesn't it? Because all of a sudden, he kicks the goal, you get it back to 25 points. You haven't played anywhere near your best footy. You know, if you can scrounge another goal before half time and you think, gee, we've been totally outplayed and we're only 3 or 4 goals down, fellas. So that's probably going to be the message from a Clarence perspective. But Lauderdale, you just don't want to let them back into the contest.
So Jeremy Weberley really needs to kick this to give them life. Marches on in. Lets it ride and puts it through. 2 in a row for Clarence.
That was a good finish, and from the coach, one he really needed to drill for his team, and indeed the contest. So last 2 goals for the Roos, and we've said the last 10 minutes they've been on top, and it's been rewarded with a couple of goals. So Lauderdale need to respond here from their perspective as this game gets back to 25 points.
23, almost 24 minutes gone, second term. Underway again. Smith. Oh, now Baker does well out of the middle. And Havea storming out of the goal square. But Holmes there to collect for the Roos. Does nicely. And good mark. James Brenner centres the footy, but dangerously. Baker's there. He's got McManus on, uses him in the end, but unfortunately puts him under enormous pressure. And now Havea, though, has the football. Gets it off. Ball goes high in the air, top of the square. Gilby was there. So was Boscott, but Clarence do well. Holmes again, dragged down this time by Havea. Free kick.
He's found some footy in the second quarter too, James Holmes. Another really consistent year from him.
Yes, we know he almost left to go to the Old Scholars off-season. So
Butchered that.
here's Dickinson, Jones. Can he lift his team here? Love another one before half-time. Out of bounds.
Out it goes. Lauderdale in charge of the contest. Sorry, Cam.
I was going to say, it's eerily similar, isn't it, to the first game? I reckon it was something like 8 goals to 3 at half-time in our Glenorchy-Lauderdale qualifying final match, and the margin's pretty similar in this one.
They scamper it forward.
At half-time I'm talking about. So Clarence would be buoyed by their response in the second half of this quarter. They'd love another goal coming in at half-time.
So in it comes. Smith down, out the back, Sutton. And seen over. So used to this encounter having a lot of spice about it. At the moment, it's just a little bit flat. 6 goals to 2. And it comes again. Smith down through the legs of Jones. Seymour, he's kicked that out in the full. So it'll be a Lauderdale ball. They've done well to slow Lauderdale's momentum, Clarence, but just finding it tough going.
They have. That's a good call. They really have, Gilly, because they were away, the Bombers. They were heading for a big, big win.
Smith underneath it. Jones claims it. Out the back is Holmes. Nicely done by Williamson, but the ball blocked by Hill magnificently. Keeps it alive. A soccer inside 50 will be thrown in.
Now, this is dangerous from a Clarence perspective. They don't want to cough one up from the boundary throw-in.
No question, Brownie.
This is where players like Franklin and Heavey have so much experience.
Purveyor now taps down. Gilby. Oh, just wide. I thought it was going to be his 4th of the day.
He could have easily had 5.
He just has that nous around goals.
He's just got great forward craft. Knows where the pockets of space are. You normally expect him to kick that.
Probably hadn't had the impact he would have liked for the first month or so. He was back at the club, but tell you what, he's running into form at the right time of the year for Lauderdale. Popropny now with the ball, and he'll bring it out of defence for Clarence. Finds Wiley.
Oh, gee, he had it for a long
target
time.
in Sharman. Couldn't quite complete the grab. He's climbing all over Sutton. Cries for free kick. Play goes on. Jones wrestles off one, but can't get off the second. Great tackle from young Harrison.
There's a terrific tackle. Now, Clarence have got numbers back here. Now, the last thing they want to do, though, is cough up a 50-metre penalty when they've worked their way back into the gun. The umpire's blown his whistle and reversed it.
Reversed it.
You don't see that happen too often, Gilly.
No, you don't. Wiley now looking in the Cox direction, and who's there? McGuinness. And he pinpoints silver service for Alex Hill. He'll go back. Kick after the siren.
Well, he is a long kick. Gee, lovely intercept from McGuinness, and as is so often his modus operandi, just to able to compose and hit up the leading target.
He's a darn good player.
Terrific player. Alex Hill can thump the footy, but it's going to need his best.
So Alex Hill from about 50 out. He'll take a darn good kick. Gives it a right. He's full and well short. There's Bailey with a little volley to finish things, and tempers fray as they often do in these contests.
Here we go.
Tim Castle, he always seems to be at the centre of these. Numbers across. It wouldn't serve Lauderdale well, considering how the contest is going to date.
It's actually really good umpiring. All the umpires got involved there to separate that.
So
There's a few Lauderdale players still loitering. Jacob Gilby's one of those, just
bit of
moving
chatter.
his charges away.
So half-time here at Blundstone Arena. Lauderdale in charge of the elimination final. 6-6-42. On top of Clarence 2-4-16. But you only need to look as far as the game before to know this one's not done. Two bitter Eastern Shore rivals. We'll have a break now and be back with the second half. Stay with us here at Blundstone Arena.
just keep me going.
Back for the second half here from Blundstone Arena. Lauderdale and Clarence. So far, so good for Lauderdale. They lead 6-6, 42, 2-4, 16 Clarence. They have a big job to do if they are to win it from here, Clarence, and progress to the second week of the TSL finals. Lauderdale have looked good, looked energised. The latter part of that second quarter, Clarence did well to disrupt them, but just couldn't really make it count in the scoreboard, Cam, and you'd have to fancy Lauderdale from here.
They got 2 goals, didn't they, in the last 15 minutes of the second quarter. They just managed to slow the game up a little bit and I guess reduce the damage on the scoreboard from a Clarence perspective. But Lauderdale, they would be fractionally disappointed, I would have thought, with the last half of that second quarter. So expect them to come out all guns blazing in the first 10 or 15 minutes, and if they do play at their very best, they would feel confident enough to think that they've put this game to bed. Conversely, from a Clarence point of view, we've mentioned it a few times this season and throughout this call, they do have a great ability to just hang in the contest and stay involved in the game and just work their way back into it, and that's what they're going to need to do on this occasion. From their perspective, it's probably got to try and maybe halve that margin going into the three-quarter time and then give themselves one last shot at it at the start of the last quarter. So we start again at this third quarter, and it'll be interesting to see where both teams set up. It looks like Jake Cox is going deep forward again for Clarence, so they like that move, and as we've mentioned, he's had a terrific result, or terrific form I should say, against Lauderdale, playing as a dangerous forward, so they've probably got to back that one in.
Just noticed Mitch Anderson doing a few run-throughs on the boundary. He came off a little proppy, didn't he, in that first half, so hopefully he's all good to go.
So back in the middle again.
Actually thought I only saw 3 Lauderdale players come to the bench too.
That's a good call, Brownie. I reckon you're right. So we'll just watch that one near the corner of our eye. Up it goes. Bounce favours Bailey. Neither ruckman makes meaningful contact. Gathering with Seymour. Drops it off for Bailey. Measures a kick, but straight the opposition. Raglioni in a rush. Looks long. He'll give it back here. No. Boscott gathers. Wrestles aside Holmes. Kicks forward. Who else but Gilby? He'll gather. Oh, that's a nice little bit of work. Soccering forward. Wiggins now in a contest with Wiley. Wiggins keeps it rolling. Picks it up. Slaps it on the boot. It's a mark. An important mark. They'll make their way out of defence now through Jones. Had a quieter second quarter. Started the game really well, Jones. Measures a kick for Brenner. Punched away. And they'll keep it lodged in their forward half. Lauderdale.
That's a win for Lauderdale. I'll get a chance to regroup. Jason Bailey, not too often he would have found himself bursting through a centre bounce clearance.
That's very
so
true.
Used to him being deep in defence doing the job for the Roos.
In it comes Surveyor, gets boot to ball. And mark taken nicely by Jacob Gilby.
It concerned me at the start of the third quarter when I saw this matchup. I would change that one if I'm Clarence.
Well, he's certainly been on song tonight, hasn't he, Brownie? You called it. What's this, number 4 he'll be shooting for here?
I just felt confident that he was ready and primed to have a big game.
The former Gold Coast son, Jacob Gilby, lines up and connects not as well as he'd like. Minor score.
Yeah, Birchall with the job at the moment on Gilby. Just think if you're Darren Winter,
Who goes to him then, Brady?
You might even push Gilby deep forward.
Oh, nice mark. Couldn't hang on to it. Really nice attempt though. Kneeled. Gets a volley. And now it's bouncing footy. Raglioni. Seymour's there. Baker. Sutton. All the Lauderdale players combining nicely here. Raglioni gets it inboard again. Kick off the ground. Williamson. Purveyor was right in his tail, and that's out in the full, so Lauderdale will get the kick here. 6-7, 43, 2-4, 16. And that's a nice no. Is he going to get paid the mark anyway? He is. So Thor Boscott will get the free kick. And he'll kick from probably 40-odd metres out on an angle. So, any thoughts on this one, Brownie?
Yeah, it's right on his distance, I would have thought. It's a difficult area of the ground to kick from.
Certainly give him a spark to start this third quarter, something Clarence would not want at all. Thor Boscott missed a lot of the season through injury. Any wonders? You're right, Brownie. It tested him that distance. Out the
Gilby.
back. Gilby. No, Birchall sees it over.
But not to be underestimated too, his return to TSL footy, Thor Boscott. We saw his first game back, and really, he hasn't, for mine, he hasn't skipped a beat. Been a real bonus, hasn't he, in the back half of the season?
You're right, as Jones looks to find Seymour. Can't quite. It's out for a throw there.
They're definitely a man down, aren't they, Lauderdale on the bench? I can only see...
We've got Harrison.
Anderson.
Yeah, just looking to see who the last one is. Good
Lamps,
call.
is it? Yeah.
He's just struggling to get it out of defence, Clarence. It's been hard work all day. Bellchambers of all people in the ruck. That's out in the full, so...
And this is similar to the start of the first quarter, wasn't it? Where Lauderdale seemed to have all the play, repeat inside 50 entries, and they just set up well behind the ball to make it really hard for Clarence to penetrate and get it forward.
So it'll be thrown on in. Webberley and Baker in the ruck. What a duel that is. Picking up was Karanaya, finds Bellchambers. Bellchambers off for McManus. Farmed out the back to Boscott.
That's a
His
good
Jets.
kick. Just pulled his kick, didn't he?
Smart.
Now he's
Williams.
got to go to Gilby, I reckon.
That's where he heads. Gilby now. Jostles for position. Did pretty well. Didn't complete the mark. Franklin. That's easy. The celebration tells you how much Franklin liked it. And Lauderdale, well, they're on their way to a big win.
Yeah. One of my favourite players, Nat Franklin. He just knocks up winning the footy. Terrific by hand. Excellent clearance player out of the stoppage. Probably been a little bit of a knock on his kicking over the journey, but I reckon he's improved that part of his game. And when he can introduce goal kicking, well, then he becomes a really damaging player. And it's been one of the premier on ballers of the competition over the last 2 or 3 years.
Was he close to being drafted, Brownie?
Unfortunately, he was injured just at the wrong time for him. Here he goes again.
So Franklin, goal kicker from a few moments ago. Oh, Jones with courage. Webberley. Big tackle. Franklin again. Heavey now. He finds Boscott. Bouncing footy. And out of bounds. So the margin is a big one now. 34 points. It'll be really
He
hard
just draws
work
the
now.
footy, Thor Boscott, doesn't he?
He does. He's an absolute star. Smith taps it down. Brenner. And out the full.
Gee, the boundary umpire was perfectly
Yes,
placed
it's the
there.
Bev show.
It's him, is it?
I don't think it is Gill.
Yeah, it is.
Is it? He's got a fresh haircut then.
Yeah, fresh do.
Okay, Franklin. Right on 50, Havea. Brenner there to collect for the Roos. Gets rid of the tackler. And Holmes out in the full now.
Geez, we've seen a few out in the full today, boys.
We have indeed.
Some wayward kicking.
So Havea will have it this time. And they want it long. They want it long, and that's exactly what he's going to do. In it goes. Pack forms. And now here's Karanaya. Karanaya! He has kicked a wonderful goal. Party time for the Bombers.
Well, what you saw then was pure class and someone that knows the forward craft, because he was front and centre, presence of mind to just lay it across his body. Gee, that's a body blow. Just what the Roos wouldn't have wanted. And that is Lauderdale to get the jump on him at the start of this third quarter. Gets the margin out now to 40 points, close to a game high, I would have thought.
Yeah, look, It looks like Lauderdale's going to kick on and record a big victory the way this is playing out. Clarence need to respond pretty quickly, Brownie.
Yeah, they do. And
bounce in the middle. Will probably
How many of those we've seen today?
oh,
dozen, I reckon.
Have to be.
you just wonder what Clarence can do at the moment. They've got Harper inside.
So Smith now down. Franklin through his fingers. Sutton on hands and knees. He's impeded.
Bailey's a bit proppy too, boys.
They've already lost one, Bailey.
I'm not making excuses for the Roos, but just the back half of the year, they have lost form and they haven't had any luck too. There's some key players out with injury.
Similar to their finish last year, Brownie. They really roared out at the start of the year.
And a player who they haven't had, right throughout his career, really, his short career, junior career, is Fraser Turner. And he was just starting to play some TSL senior footy for the Roos, and then they lost him in that game up against Launceston with a hand injury.
Good fist away from Baker now. They'll start something from this. The Bombers. Sutton gets by one, gets by two. Silky stuff from Sutton on the chest of Boscott.
Great kick.
Terrific play, Reece Sutton. A little one inside. Heavy. Disciplined stuff. We know he's got the journey.
Yeah, so Fraser Turner, because his season was so good at under 18 level and went on and played with the Allies, Clarence only got him back about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and he looked to have some real upside from a team perspective for the Roos with his inclusion. Unfortunately, they lost him to injury.
So Alex Heavey, a veteran in this team, he lets it ride. Hasn't actually got the journey despite being quite a big kick. Fisted through, minor score. No, you're right. When it comes to Fraser Turner, he's just starting to really click for them, Brownie. So Webley out of defence. That's a poor kick. Out in the full.
Just got to be a bit careful here because Lauderdale will try and suck them in, and if this one, gets out to 50 points, well then you really worry about the latter half of this game and what might happen on the scoreboard.
So comes long, Wiggins the target, flying was Heavey. Holmes does okay, gets it out, Webley runs it over.
Speaking about Clarence too, boys, their record in finals of late, the dominant powerhouse grand final winning sides of the 90s, 2000s, but in recent times they just had no luck in finals. As it comes back in,
thrown in.
Gilby in the ruck. So dangerous spot here again. Heavey off the ground. Who's there? Wiggins. Ryan Wiggins. Heavey. Can someone get it off the ground? Is that touch? No, I don't think it is. Umpire's blowing the whistle. Everyone get out of the way, he says. Get out of the way.
I thought it was a goal, actually.
We can't go to the score review unless Simon can whip us up a replay really quickly.
Well, Lauderdale is setting up like it's a point. So I think it is going to be behind.
Long conversation.
It is. And he's called it touched. There you go. So Clarence will bring it back in, and that kick is not great.
They've done that all night, haven't they?
They
from
have,
deep in defence.
yeah. So Lauderdale chance to turn it over again through Heavey. He whacks it on the boot, top of the square again, and Clarence there and take the mark through Jake Cox.
They need the ball in his hands.
They do indeed. He pops it right. Just 18 shots to 6, boys. It's been complete dominance from the Bombers. Players fly as one. Heavey there lurking again as a tackler. Gilby in the thick of all the attacking for Lauderdale tonight. Ball up. So yeah, Clarence's record, guys. He finished a couple of years ago on top of the ladder, went out in straight sets. Done it a couple of times and now potentially looking down the barrel of another exit early tonight as well. Here's Dickinson. Silver's running onto it, but Lauderdale do well. Bell Chambers managed to get away with it. Anderton, good to see him back out there. And now here we go again inside. Gilby and Birchall. And Williamson's there for the Roos. Out of bounds. Oh. So Glenorchy big winners earlier today. They're playing North Launceston next week. Winner of this game to take on Launceston. We can get a double header up there in Launceston next weekend, Damo?
Every likelihood as the ball's powered outside 50. Havea, McGuinness, classy as usual. Comes to Franklin. Sutton, I've liked his game. Drops it off for McGuinness. A rare look at goal from McGuinness. He's got the journey.
Whacked that point.
He was watching at home and it's thudded into the goalpost.
Really thudded.
A minor score. I tell you what, Clarence are probably lucky. Although could have piled on a couple here. So Jones short finds Neil. Hasn't seen too much of the footy.
No, I was going to say he's had a quiet day. In fairness, he hasn't seen a lot of the footy inside his forward half.
Comes long, Castle, who's worked off it. Reamers arrives. Kick looking for Cunliffe. He'll get a free kick. He's not worried about that. He powers off. A good kick from Cunliffe. Finds Bailey. Bailey has an option inside in Silver. Silver can go back or kick over the top to his coach, and he opts to go for the latter. So in the pocket, Jeremy Webley will line up.
Well, that's the only thing he's instinctively played on, which you probably got to do when your coach has found some space inside forward 50, but it will be a difficult kick hard up against the boundary line. He's tried pretty hard, the coach.
He has. It probably hasn't been his evening. So hugging the boundary here. Jeremy Webley to say they need a goal. Again, massive understatement. He does the job on this occasion though. If there's any life left in the Roos, that'll spring it to life.
He liked it straight away too. As soon as it left the boot, he was celebrating. Not celebrating.
And
he saw it home.
Difficult shot.
Still a long way to go, aren't they, Clarence? 3-4-22. Plays A11-59. Still a big margin. Favoured the way of Lauderdale.
Nick Baker looks like he's got the task on Webley when he is forward. It's an important period of the game coming up now, particularly from a Clarence perspective. It was about now, wasn't it, boys, that Glenorchy clicked into gear in the earlier game.
Good call, Brownie. Brady Jones. Now Lauderdale once more. Robbie McManus is there. So is Havea. Was he in the back? Umpire said no, play on. Eventually he blows his whistle for a ball up.
Darren Winter reappointed for another year too. Brent?
Yes, no, good to see. Very popular man down at the tip. Don't worry about that as Jake Cox comes steaming through the middle here. Cunliffe. And umpire let that one go. Ball to ground. And that's certainly a good appointment. He's done wonderful things with this footy club, Brandon. We saw them have a tough start to the season. As soon as he came in, they went on that big winning streak, of course, and you feel like he's got unfinished business after making the grand final last year. So could this be the Bombers' year? The Southern Bombers' year. Inside 50 again for the Roos, and it's the coach again, Jeremy Webley.
Well, a couple of touches in the last 30 seconds to Jake Cox, and it helps to get the ball in the hands of your best players. And even though he burst through about a minute ago and was tackled by Thor Boscott, I just liked the way that he was able to find some time and space and was prepared to run and take the game on. So if they can kick this one here, Clarence, they'll cut the margin to just under 5 goals. Back to where we started virtually at the start of the half.
Jeremy Webley, former Richmond player, and has hit the post as well.
Extraordinary amount of posters today.
Has been a few. So they'll look to restart here. And it comes. And Smith went for it. Harper's there as well. Bell Chambers. Umpire's called advantage here. They're away, the Bombers, through Lamses. And now Karanaya. He pops it and centres it to Gilby. He takes the mark. Jacob Gilby has been on fire up forward tonight. This might add to his tally even further.
Gee, it was a great transition from the kick out from Lauderdale. Who was the kick, the inside 50 kick then? Karanaya, was it? And it was beautiful because he just instinctively knew where Jacob Gilby was running in the space, and he won't miss from here.
Jacob Gilby, he makes absolutely no mistake. And it's almost game over now, boys.
Well, that's his fourth. He's been the most dangerous forward on the ground today, right from the word go. Kicked the opening goal. Probably could have had 6 and still might have a few more by the end of this game. But we keep saying it, he just knows his way around the forward line, doesn't he? Very smart player. Keeps his feet. Normally a reliable set shot for goal, and shows tremendous leadership out on the ground too, boys. Lauderdale, he's often the one that's directing traffic too around stoppages and telling his teammates where to be, where to run, where to deliver the footy.
So unimpeded, Smith taps down, Harper claimed it, Baker involved, emerging is Webberley, trying to get his team going. Webberley finds Standard.
Well, he's worn him like a glove, young Oscar Shaw. I think Standard's tried hard. He certainly led up and tried to present. But his opponent is going to give a lot of people grief over his career, I would think. He just looks like such a competitive defender.
So Standard now, wide to the right, minus score. So Alex Hill to bring it out again. Of course, strapping on that elbow, which he dislocated earlier on in the season. At this very ground, against this very team.
What school did he go to, Gilly?
From the McKillop Football Factory. That's not his best kick, though. Knockers from you. Leone will get a free kick from the McKillop Football Factory.
There's been a few.
Josh McGuinness.
Including one of our callers.
Correct. Not so much the football part. Long and strong from Shaw. Wiggins. Just good body work.
Yeah, free kick.
Oh, no. Poor body work. Williamson now, short. Jones over the top. Find Edmondson. Got a lot of space to work with there. Measures his ball. Webley didn't fly.
Ooh.
Baker did. Good follow-up from Baker. Finds Bell Chambers on a burst. Looking long, looking in the Franklin direction. Good hands. Finds Harrison. He drops it off. Karanaya now. Bell Chambers goes wide. Through the sticks. Fantastic from Bell Chambers. He's a powerful player. And he piles on another.
Yeah, well, that's their 10th. And we're out to a game high, 45 points in this one. I think it'd be a game high, wouldn't it, boys?
Yeah, I think so.
We just keep mentioning he's just so strong through the core, Bell Chambers. It's a difficult matchup. He's powerful. He can break away from a stoppage, and he's won the footy. And I just think his composure and ball use has improved so much in the last 12 months. And when he keeps adding that goal-kicking aspect to his game, well, then he becomes an extraordinary damaging player.
Another really ordinary bounce. We've had so many today, I've lost count. Just throw it up.
Bin the bounce.
Throw it up.
Well, there'd be a good advertisement today to bin it from what we've seen. They just seem to struggle with it in both games. Geez, they're undermanned. Harper in the ruck here for the Roos.
So Smith almost missed it there. Now Boscott ducked his head.
He did duck his head. Good call, Brent.
And now Seymour. Harper inside. That's a bouncing ball. Going to get there? No, Alex Hill. Good enough to rush it through. Not a bad effort though, Harper. And now quickly they bring it back in. Baker takes the mark.
Whoa.
It's a wobbly old kick, and Silver.
Helicopter.
That's his issue, Nick Baker. Unfortunately for him, it's the disposal by foot.
So Silver has a look at it. Goes forward and finds an option right in the pocket.
He's got great athleticism, Nick Baker. He's a good one-on-one defender, and some of his work over the last month, particularly in the stoppage situation around centre bounce clearances and so forth by hand's been really good. And if you can improve that kicking.
Dan Reimers. Late inclusion this afternoon for Ryan Bailey. Has a look at it, and it is across the face, minor score.
Look good off the boot. Just open up the angle slightly for himself. You just get the sense here that Lauderdale are about to even step it up another gear and try and put this one right beyond Clarence.
Well, we've got some space here now to work with. In it goes, and straight down the throat, though, of the Clarence player. Botany. Oh, dear. Dear, oh, dear. Quick turnover. Look at this. Ryan Wiggins all on his own. And he'll go back now and have an easy set shot.
Yeah, well, this one's over. And it's going to be tough for Clarence in the last 40 minutes of this game because their season is finished, unfortunately for them. And when you haven't got a lot to play for, knowing that your season is going to be over in 40 minutes' time, it can certainly test your discipline and your mental aspect to be involved in the game.
So Ryan Wiggins slots it through. Huge lead now for the Bombers. They've got a date with Launceston coming up next week at UTAS Stadium.
No, it just felt like Lauderdale were flexing their muscles and going for the kill here. Let's hope from a Clarence perspective, though, that they don't get blown out of the water here and this margin doesn't get 80 points plus, Gilly, because they've had too good a season for it to fall away badly in the final game of the year for them.
Yeah, you're right. It'd be a sour way to end what's been a pretty good year, all things considered, for Clarence. But Lauderdale have got the whiff of blood in the nose, and they're going to come after him here, I reckon. Bell Chambers
should have been holding the ball. He took him on.
Smith now. He'll have to get rid of this. He does. Franklin gets it out. Shaw arrives.
Great
Good work
hand, Shaw.
from the youngster. Finds Heavey. Now Bell Chambers. Run and carry and a good kick. Heavey takes a grab.
He's an improved player. Gilby wants it at the top of the goal square. He fancies his matchup on Holmes. He probably should get it in there. But no, he's going to have a shot. And we haven't seen him kick these from this distance, boys.
Speaking of powerful athletes.
Yeah, when you know they've got those sort of players, haven't they? Bell Chambers, Boscott. You throw this guy into the mix.
So Havea crosses the paint, strikes it quite nicely, but just out to the right. Tell you what, Brent, they'd love to just add Ben McGuinness to this,
wouldn't they?
Oh. And he might be a chance, Mike, if they go really deep.
An outside chance. So they bring it out of defence, Clarence. Wiley. Long and strong. Harper arrives, fancied himself, went over his head though. Try and get it out through hands. It was Howlett.
It's going to be all Lauderdale here though.
This will be gobbled up by McGuinness. And clean by foot, finds Hill.
Yeah, great call, Gilly, because he was just running into a bit of form, wasn't he, from the forward half. We saw him play against Glenorchy down there at Lauderdale. I reckon he kicked 7 that day. Probably could have kicked 9 or 10. And just that swing man gives him that versatility. He's so dangerous in the air. Gee, you're right. He would be a very handy acquisition for them.
Smith pops this one up. It was at the advantage of Gilby. Didn't claim it. Jones rides a tackle. It'll be a stoppage inside forward 50 for the Bombers.
I mean, what it does highlight, though, boys, and we see it at AFL level, and we've said it before, haven't we? Around this time of year, you need health to be your best player, and if you haven't got a fit and healthy list, it makes it pretty hard. You need a bit of luck this time of the season.
Big time. There's a whistle. It's going to come back. It's going to be a free kick for young James Brenner. Oh no, off downfield. Be Edmondson's kick. He's a bit unsure what to do, and that was not what to do. That was not good at all. Boscott now. You just wander on in here, Franklin. That is too easy. They've just about put up the white flag, I think, Clarence. Lauderdale are going through to the second week of the finals, no doubt about it now.
I didn't see the turnover kick. I didn't see who it came from, but
Edmondson
was it? He's unfortunately for him, he's had a couple of bad executions by foot. And Nat Franklin was couldn't believe his luck, and then just waltzed in and kicked a goal. And what are we out to now, Breno? It's 58 points, is it?
And you said, Brownie, about finishing off the season well because they've had a good season, but you want to finish it off well. This is your rival. You're playing for pride now. You want to come back next season knowing that you're some sort of chance of beating these guys. Here we go again. Lauderdale on the attack. Bellchambers gets it to Sutton. Sutton evades the tackler. Looks at goal. Pops it up. Nice mark.
Yeah, really good mark, wasn't it?
Raglioni. No, it's not. It's Lamses.
And he's one of those players that's right on the fringe, so it's probably an important 30 minutes for him coming up. Competition for spots is high around this time of year.
Gee, look at the run-in. There's no one really... What happened there? We ran for miles.
No, this could be triple figures.
Yeah, let's certainly hope not from the contest perspective. But the beauty of this, if you're Darren Winter, is you've got 30 minutes to just manage your group, and you just want them to get through unscathed. Any players that might be, carrying a niggling injury into this game, well, you just wouldn't risk it, and you'd manage their game time for the last quarter and a bit. So what a luxury for him to be able to manage this group, as this margin is out now to 64 points.
It's getting very, very ugly. The result now known, really, as Smith paddles down. Running through was Baker. A reasonable game, Baker. Finds Lamses, the most recent goal kicker. This kick not his best. Through the fingers of Neil, though. Emerson loses
great tackle from Gilby.
Dislodged in the tackle, and it's going to be a Gilby shot at goal.
He's had a good game, hasn't he?
He's had a day out. What's he kicked? 4?
He's kicked 4.
He should have had probably 6 or 7. And he'll line up for his 5th with a quarter to play.
You just mentioned, Gilly, the work of Nick Baker, and that's been a real highlight of his footy over the last month since he's moved into the midfield. His ability to make, first of all, find the footy in those clearance situations, but then be composed by hand to give it off to a teammate. He's got good vision. He's got a basketball background, as they say. As Jacob Gilby lines up for number 5.
Gilby now.
No.
Lets it ride. It's coming back. It's through! Exclamation point on a terrific quarter that has blown this game to bits. Lauderdale, they'll have a date with Launceston. Still a quarter to play, and it's party time. As Dwayne Russell would say, get out the fairy bread. Where's the hundreds and thousands? It's party time.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for the Roos, not what they wanted. Lauderdale have slammed on, 8 goals in that third quarter to 1. Blown this game apart, 70 points, and they were totally dominant. And it was dangerous signs, wasn't it, in the first 3 or 4 minutes, because they just had repeat inside entries. They were able to lock the ball in, and all of a sudden they got on a great roll, and different players were able to bob up for them on the scoreboard. And for Clarence, it was only the coach who was able to kick a goal and stem the flow a little bit halfway through that quarter, but then Lauderdale slammed on the last 5 or 6 goals, and it's going to be a difficult 30 minutes for them. They know their season is done and dusted. They're just going to be playing for pride now. As you mentioned, Breno, they're up against their arch rivals, and they'd, they wouldn't want to be embarrassed and get this game, beyond 100 points, for instance, because that's not the way you want to finish off what I think's been a really solid season for them, and it's a shame that it is going to finish up with a heavy defeat for them, because it's taken the gloss off what's been, particularly in the first half of the year. I thought they were incredibly competitive and probably the surprise packet of the season. From Lauderdale, though, it's an important 30 minutes for them. They've just got to get through unscathed. They don't want to lose any players to ill discipline and injury and things like that, and give themselves every possible chance, and they will go in with the belief that they're playing their best footy at the absolute right time of the year. They'd be having an eye on Launceston next week and know that, maybe their second half, their confidence is down a little bit. They're the sorts of things that will be said during the week, I would have thought, from Darren Winter, but he would have been delighted with that third quarter.
They do look flat, Clarence. They've got to regroup and make something of this last quarter, but it's been impressive from Lauderdale. And they're rampaging home to a big victory. Chief Destroyer has been Jacob Gilby. He's kicked 5. Multiples to Nat Franklin with 2. Phil Bellchambers with 2. Henry Kerenea with 2. Singles coming to Wiggins, Lampsis and Alex Hill. And just the one multiple goal scorer for the Roos in the coach, Jeremy Webley. The other goal coming through Propotny. Lauderdale been very, very impressive, Brownie. Their best football is scintillating. How far do you reckon Lauderdale could go?
Well, gee, their best is incredibly dangerous, and they're a powerful unit. They've introduced Nick Baker into that midfield. He's a player that, they didn't have in the first half of the year. Gee, you hit the nail on the head. They'd love Ben McGuinness back into that team, but everyone's got some key players out. And this time of year, North Launceston probably the exception. Gilly, I don't think
the only one, Jay Foon.
He'd be the one.
And if they are to win next week, they'll be, of course, missing Rick DeSolda with the 2-week ban. So
that's right. So everyone's probably got some key players out, but they how far can they go? Well, I think their best is can go deep. I think they'd fancy their chances against Launceston. The only thing that happens, Gilly, too, whenever we watch these sort of finals, we can get tipped into the team coming that wins from the elimination final and lose faith in the team that's lost the qualifying final. You see it a lot at AFL level, and more often than not, history will tell you that the team that finished in the top 3 and might have lost their first final bounces back. But I think Lauderdale will go in with a fairly carefree attitude next week against Launceston, and they'll be freed up. I know they didn't have the best start to the season, but I think they'll be buoyed on the back of this performance and think that they're hitting their straps at the right time of the season.
Mosquito actually was the one that came late to the bench and was worked on for most of that quarter. I don't think he went out there, so he's maybe one they now just go, right, don't risk him,
Absolutely.
Put him on ice.
Yep.
Been an important player coming into their structure.
Oh, yeah. I would, anyone that would be niggling, you just keep them off and, try and heavily rotate if you need to, or, conversely, if a bloke has got some sort of niggling injury, well, then you just keep him off for the rest of the game because the prize is too big next week, a first semi-final, which, interesting, isn't it, Gilly? We were talking during the week that we thought, potentially we might have 2 finals on our hands up at the north of the state, in contrast to what they've seen this afternoon, and it's going to be the case. So some really exciting footy ahead for us in the next 7 days at TSL level. But let's just hope from a Clarence Footy Club perspective, if you're a supporter or a player connected with that club, that they can hang in there. Not a lot to play for, so it's going to be really difficult, particularly if Lauderdale get the first couple to start this last quarter.
And because they're better rivals, Lauderdale won't want to take the foot off the pedal. They'll want to really drive this home because this would be a famous victory for them. Fantastic indeed. A question on Lauderdale, Brownie. Of course, they made the grand final last year. They lost a few players in the off-season, namely Clever Camp and Fife. Do you think the 2018 version is actually better than 2017? Obviously added Kerenea, Mosquito and Gilby.
Look, if McGuinness was in that team, I think I'd nearly say that they have. I love the inclusion of Gilby. Baker's another inclusion which has made them stronger. Gee, you put those other boys that are out of the team, and you think, gee, they would be a formidable opponent. You'd be thinking, who do you leave out? I think Shaw's been really good for them down back since coming into the team, and we know how brave he is in the air, and he's fights tooth and nail to keep his opponent under wraps. But I guess from a Clarence perspective, they're still a young side though, boys, aren't they? A lot of these boys still finding their way at the level. Edmondson hasn't played a lot of footy. Howlett hasn't played a lot of footy at the level. So too Birchall. Brent is still probably finding his way at this level. Silver's another one. Seymour, a first-year player. Propotny has kicked a goal. Remus. So there's probably 8 or 9 players there that have probably played, 15 games or less potentially, each and every one of them. So, they'll get some experience out of this and know what it takes to play TSL finals footy, and they have plenty of time over to the summer to regroup, and let's hope they keep the core and nucleus of this team and not too many people leave the footy club.
So back in the middle, Lauderdale in control. Tap down to Baker. Geez, they've missed Ryan Bailey tonight. Here's Jason Bailey. Hands off for Jones. Measured kick through the hands of Castle. Hill now for Sutton. Sutton out for McManus. McManus, a little kick over the top of Baker. He just sheds his opponent. And away he goes. Centre wing. Long, strong. Into Wiggins. Havea arrives. Oh, brought down a tackle. Terrific tackle. It's a whistle. Not sure who's been legged, but that's what the umpire's saying. So it's going to be a Williamson ball. He finds Seymour. Yeah, he's been one of the good stories this year for Clarence, as is this bloke, Holmes. Wiley missed the bulk of the year. Little one for Cox. Cox has Jones. Finds him. The skipper has battled manfully. What is going to be a losing cause. Over for Holmes.
Done well here, Clarence. We've hit about 6 or 7 targets by foot.
And another.
Just slowed the game up. They would have loved this early on in the third quarter, for instance.
Remus now looking for a target in Castle. He loses his opponent.
He did. His back turned to play and initiated contact.
So he'll be thrown in. Lauderdale 70 points in front. Yes, that's not a malfunction on the scoreboard on the live stream. A strong wind coming the way of Lauderdale. Down. Interrupted. Gathered by Baker. Williams. McManus now for Mosquito. He's back out there. Loses the footy. Just nudging along. Proprotny's done well there. He's come out with a ball looking for Brenner. Misses the target. Raglione just deals with him. Measures a kick. Almost for Havea. Out it goes.
So just over 2 minutes gone here in the final term. Final term for Clarence, 2018. Lauderdale looking forward to heading north to take on Launceston next Saturday. Jason Bailey. Jones. Dragged down. Tries for holding the ball and they get it. So Lauderdale will get the kick here. And edging closer and closer to that 100-point total. I reckon the Bombers have got that in their sights. In it comes again. Mark couldn't be taken on this occasion. Caraneo was there trying for the tackle, but the Roos do well to get it out. Cox slips over. Is he taken high?
He's got one in the head, I reckon, as he slipped.
It's back inside 50 for Lauderdale anyhow, and a mark taken by Havea. TSL Havea will go back and have a shot on goal and try and extend this lead to 76 points.
There's one area of the game where Launceston might be a bit concerned about next week. It probably is in that forward half for Lauderdale and their ability to mark the footy, because it was an area I thought that Glenorchy exposed Launceston the more the game went on, and they've got plenty of players, Lauderdale, that can jump up and catch the footy inside that forward 50.
So TSL Havea, fantastic player, rising star of the competition a few years ago. And he wanders and pushes it right.
He's had a couple of opportunities.
71 points now the margin. And the Roos add some respectability to this scoreboard before the end of the match. A big torpedo. Oh, big fly. But this goes straight down the throat of Alex Hill. Good to see him back out there after that injury a month or so ago, right here at Blundstone Arena. Boundary throw in to take place right in front of us here in the commentary box.
Not too often you see big Alex swing onto the left foot.
Yeah, no, look rusty. There's a gate that was appalling.
So when it comes, taps it down now. Yep, and now Sutton. So it was Smith in the ruck, of course. Hill now with the footy.
Oh, there you go. Couldn't believe it. Again on his left.
And now Caraneo.
Oh, party trick.
He handled it perfectly, turned himself inside out, gets it inside 50. Oh, and a big
Great
tackle
tackle,
too from behind. Still alive for the Bombers here. And now Ryan Wiggins turns, snaps, goals. 77 points the margin.
Yeah, well, that's his second. He becomes the fifth multiple goal kicker for Lauderdale tonight. And they just seem to have that luxury, Gilly, of being able to flip-flop Hill and Wiggins to either end of the ground at any stage, whether it be a quarter or leave them there for the whole game. But that's a real skill of their team, the versatility among different players that they can push forward and push back. Some of these boys, Boscott can go deep forward. We've seen Franklin kick goals. Bell Chambers has moved into the midfield this season. So they certainly have some versatility in what they can throw around.
Mercury's dipped a bit here, boys.
Has.
So Smith again, that's a dominant hit out, straight down the throat of Boscott. Inside 50 they go again. Over the top, it's Mosquito. Mosquito towards goal. Bell Chambers the target, fisted away. McGuinness, who just tries to pounce. It comes out the back to Jones. That's a fierce handball. Through hands, they work it out in defence now. Clarence. Weberly, a little one over the top for Silva. Takes the grab. Silva now. Told to hurry on. Kicks long in the nil direction. Hasn't seen much of it. Well pounced on by Howlett, but he's got a problem. Great tackle from McManus, and he lets him know about it.
It's something that's crept into the game, isn't it, boys? When you bring down a guy,
you let him know.
You let him know and just push your hands into his chest.
McManus bravely into the middle to Franklin. 1-2 with Sutton. Franklin now looking inside forward 50. A kick in the direction of Karanaya. A Mosquito, rather. Sock it away from him and out it goes.
That tough stuff didn't happen back in your day, Brownie? Laid a big tackle, you just ran off.
I didn't lay a tackle for a start.
But I wouldn't have thought you were the tackling machine.
No.
So, comes back in again. Havea takes it straight out of the ruck. Just dealt with Bailey. Swinging in was Franklin. Straight to the opposition.
Gee, they're driving it forward here relentlessly, aren't they, Lauderdale?
I reckon they smell that 100-point margin.
No question. And it's something they can remind their neighbours of. But Jones wants to do something about it. Heavey leads a foot race and fists it over.
He's been a ripper, hasn't he, Alex Heavey, for over a decade. Would he be the, well, I guess since the inception of Lauderdale and the TSL, he'd be the game's record holder, wouldn't he, Gilly, at Lauderdale, Alex Heavey, I would have thought?
I believe so. I believe that's the case.
So in it comes. 100-point margin in their sights. I don't know when the last time a 100-point margin would have been the case between these two teams. Such fierce rivals, such close contests usually in a long time.
Oh, he's stiff there. Umpire was blinded to it, but it was just being held against him.
Frustrated there, Jeremy Weberly. Coach kicks it, and it's a shocker. It's gone straight down the throat of Sutton. And he tries to find Bell Chambers, who takes the mark, gets the handball away quickly. McManus. And now Wiggins. Wiggins has got loose men everywhere here at the moment, the Bombers. Doing anything they like. That kick wasn't great to Holmes, but smacked straight back down. It's a bouncing footy. Mosquitoes there lurking. Holmes again. And now they're out of danger for the moment, the Roos.
Good kick, young Reamers, I think.
So they try to switch the play here, but it's all Lauderdale. The ball didn't really work for Baker, but it did in the end. Did well, and out of bounds, under pressure from Webley.
We're talking about the versatility of Lauderdale, and a player that's predominantly played throughout his career in a wing and that high half forward role is Robbie McManus, but really found a niche also across half back. Just been able to lower his eyes and hit targets and be pretty composed with ball in hand. I liked his work tonight.
So ball back in. Havea tried to get a slap down on the ball. Cox, there's a high tackle there. It's
on
coming
Bell
back.
Chambers, I think. Another one we don't speak about too often, Brownie, is Sutton.
Much improved player, isn't he?
Just
Consistent, reliable, versatile.
Bell
been a goal
Chambers
kicker.
gets it inside,
Great
and Gilby
I don't know what I told you about this guy before the game, fellas.
again, just being modest as always, Brady, about your.
just shelling peas at the moment, Lauderdale.
Now, it's 44 players you could have mentioned.
So what's the margin? 77 points. Just to make it 83 if Gilby can convert from here. In he comes. And it is across the face. Still alive. Williamson.
Gone.
Umpire let it go.
The only
Still a chance here. The Bombers, Smith. And the kick is across the face again.
He's had some shots, Jacob Gilby. Would have had at least 10 on goal,
He does
wouldn't
it
he?
most weeks. He'll kick 2 or 3, but kick that again in behinds.
A couple haven't made the distance. And I mean, in all seriousness, here's a player, if Lauderdale are going to go deep, I think needs to continue on and have a really strong final series.
Definitely. So, Clarence counting down to the end of their 2018 campaign has not ended well at all for them. After what looked to be a promising season right at the very start, and they've been good throughout. Oh, great Mark Sutton. Just spoke about him a moment ago.
Right on cue. Gee, they've got some space here at the moment.
They
Lauderdale
do.
on
They've
the
got
forward
plenty
line.
of options for him, but unfortunately, I thought Williamson was going to gobble that one up, but here we go. Franklin taps it backwards, and the kick's away. It's going to land out of bounds though. Boundary throw it.
Yeah, it's hard to find a bad player for them tonight, Lauderdale.
Yeah, wouldn't want to be you doing the votes tonight, Brownie.
Don't
It'd be
vote in
hard to-
finals, do we?
Do we? Oh,
Nah, no
votes?
in finals, Brent. Come on.
Still know your best three, surely.
Oh, we'll talk about the best players, no doubt.
Smith does well. Gilby is there again. Is he taken high? Maybe not. Ball up.
If we were predicting margins at the start of the night, I think we're all tipping Lauderdale, but there's no way we would have tipped this margin. Smith over the top. Sharman. Holmes dealt with after he got rid of it. Kicking forward now is Neil. Creative kick. Bounces up for Shaw. He's got a problem. It's gathered by Castle. Good shimmy and shake, but he needs an option. He finds it in Silver. Silver coughs it up. Does okay to recover. Castle in all sorts. Out the side. Finds Standen. Shakes, bakes. Offline.
Wasn't the finish he wanted, but gee, it was a great sidestep to find a bit of space. Been a tough night for him. He just hasn't had the opportunities.
So McManus now goes long. Lamps's all on his own. Just couldn't quite get the journey. Riding the tackle was Castle. He's trying to get rid of it. Can't.
The modern day players, they just tackle so well.
Make it hard to get it out, don't they?
It's been a key feature of Lauderdale's play tonight.
So up it goes. Interesting ruck contest, that one. Harrison farms it out. Bill Chambers on hands and knees. Eventually gets it moving. Harrison again. Cunliffe. Handball. Straight to McGuinness, though. McGuinness now for Baker. Tries to get rid of one, and he's gone. Away they go now. Harper. He's had a ping at goal from about 65.
Oh.
I tell you what.
Touch on the line.
If not for a metre, he very nearly got the journey. So McManus now to himself. He's got a pad to work with again to Lampsis.
He's a target.
Here's the target man, Havea. Tries his best, Dacked his Holmes. Full moon tonight. Comes to Seymour. Seymour now finds a bit of space. Looking deep to Neil. Over his head. Trickling towards the boundary. Nicely done by Raglione. Out it goes.
You just wonder about the fitness of Mitch Anderton, don't you? Because he hasn't reappeared. Must be
point.
some concerns for him in the second half. I'd love it if it was just a
Precaution.
decision, based on precaution.
What's your forecast for next week, Brownie? The Lauderdale beat Launceston?
I think they can.
Brady Jones.
It's one of those. It's going to be another toss of the coin. I
It will
reckon.
be a toss of the coin, as we say. You tend to get tipped into the finals, particularly when you get to that first semi-final. You may often lose faith in the team that's lost the qualifying final. They're the top three for a reason, but I just think Lauderdale are up and about at the moment and playing some of their best footy at the right time of the year. Gee, if important though for Launceston, if they can fight back and continue and keep their season alive.
I don't think Lauderdale has any fears about going to UTAS. They put up a pretty good performance against North Launceston their last time they went up, and they had some horrific losses up there too. But I don't think the venue itself will hold any fear, especially against Launceston.
So down it comes. The way they'd like to play footy, it shouldn't worry them at all. McGuinness now. Karanaya off his shoelaces, takes a grab. He's had a good game.
He has, and he's been very creative.
Finds Harrison.
There's just 3 men everywhere at the moment for Lauderdale.
Take your pick. Harrison inside 50, punched away, picked up by Wiggins, tries to manufacture a shot out in the full. So this game is just petering towards the conclusion.
Be interesting for mine will be the fixture times, Gilly. Will we replicate? It's a good mark running back with a flight. What we've seen today in terms of a 3 o'clock and a 6 o'clock start. We know AFL footy next weekend, so it's a free hit for the TSL.
That's right. That's a very good point. Do you have 2 separate days given there's no AFL?
Then you got to worry about breaks. Makes it tricky. Comes long from Williams. Inside 50.
I think you go a double header. Not that that's our decision.
Same
to make.
sort of time slot, Brownie?
If I'm travelling, I'd like an earlier start, Brent, but I'm not sure that comes into the calculations.
I don't know. You're a pretty important operator as the Roos get it inside.
See, the umpire's gotten away, and that sums up Clarence's night, unfortunately.
Heavey to Sutton. Can the Bombers get another one here? Sutton, little kick in, just over the head of Boscott. He's still there, though, the big bull. Oh, what a tackle.
Yeah, look, Brent, I would have thought 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock would be still a fair shout.
Yeah.
It's not... I think people can get home at a reasonable hour after the night game. We'll see what happens. We'll hear that probably in the next 24 hours.
No doubt. They'll be working on that feverishly tonight. AFL Tasmania hierarchy. Work out exactly what's going to happen, no doubt. Who makes those calls, Gilly? Is it just Carl Saunders, or is it a team of people, or who actually sits down and decides all that?
TSL Ops team.
Who's in that, please?
Do we have to give every detail? Wayne Povey and Benny Ling and of course the venue. It'll come down to the venue and the availability and the amount of games they're allowed to have on it. As Harper comes away, we get off that stimulating conversation. Over the top for Castle, we might just get a little consolation.
Oh, that's a nice goal.
That's a neat finish. It's been a dirty day, but that is a neat finish.
Yeah, I reckon that's their first goal for, I reckon almost 40 minutes. I reckon Webberley kicked one hard up against the boundary line reasonably early on in the third quarter. That was a neat finish from Tim Castle and something that we didn't necessarily see him doing, and that's playing in the forward half this year, but he's had some really good moments since being swung there. Been so used to him being a terrific defender, lockdown defender for the Roos.
Well, the end of the game can't come quick enough for the Roos. We're about to hit time on. Down it comes. Neil hasn't had an impact today, despite having a really good season for Clarence. Here's Webberley. Can I add some more respectability to this scoreboard before the time's up?
So you see that?
Reimers is there. Reimers gets it. Reamers wanders in. Reamers kicks a goal.
It's out of bounds, unfortunately. But once again, the ability of Shaw to just get a hand in there and defend and put a defensive spoil on. Darren Winter would love him as a player, I would have thought, Oscar Shaw.
We know you do, Brownie.
Well, I think he's a real competitor. And I think there's some upside in his game.
So Alex Hill out in front. Sutton. Castle. Seymour. Fletcher Seymour. And the Roos have a look at it now, but that is offline.
And the other interesting thing too, boys, we're talking strongly about the Lauderdale contest next week with Launceston, but Glenorchy, North Launceston.
Couple of cracking games.
What chance do we give the Pies?
Big chance.
We didn't think it was going to happen halfway through the half time.
I'll tell you what'll be interesting, guys, is if Tom Couch comes into this North Launceston lineup. Taylor Whitford, I think, said that he'll definitely be back this year.
Well, we'd have to, wouldn't he? Have to play.
Sure
Has
he's
to.
set to play, yeah.
Has to. So, does that upset the apple cart much, Brady? Bringing in a player that's played only a handful of games this year, someone's going to have to miss out.
It'll upset the apple cart of the person that gets dropped. But
Exactly.
I'm guessing maybe that Richter Solder suspension means
could be the.
comes in for Richter Solder.
That's why I didn't challenge it. There you go.
Oh, look, we know Couch's best is almost as good as anyone in the competition, whether or not be that bullocking midfielder who just racks up possessions, or he can go forward and kick goals. So
How
he's going to make them better, that's for sure.
absolutely, but hasn't played for a long time, either.
No, but he keeps himself pretty fit, obviously, in terms of his line of work.
So it comes out through Sharman, inside 50. Oh, that'll be a free kick, I would have thought.
Boys, it actually hasn't been a bad quarter from the Roos, because I think it's been
Baker.
fairly low scoring.
Sutton. A little worm burner there for Thor Boscott. Not his best kick. Great tackle, Boscott. Sensational. You'd love to see that if you're Darren Winter. This game is absolutely sewn up, and he's still putting in that sort of effort. Karanaya now. He cops some front-on contact. Good forward pressure from him. Webley just sends it out of defence. Punch down from Smith. Dickinson. Geez, we haven't called his name.
No, he's had a very quiet night. Missed the
Kicking
target
over
there.
for Cunliffe. Cunliffe makes it look okay. We'll receive back from Sharman. Cunliffe on the turn. Will it find a home?
Great goal.
That is a great finish. So a couple of consolation goals to finish off.
Yeah, he's been a very good pickup, hasn't he, this season, and played some really good footy that we've seen in stream games. Becomes just the fourth goal kicker for his team. And I mentioned, boys, we thought this one was going to blow out potentially to 100 points.
Yep.
Full credit to Clarence. They've actually won the quarter and they didn't have anything to play for. And Lauderdale have probably put the queue in the rack to an extent, and probably just trying to manage and get through the game with self-preservation. But I like the fact that Clarence have fought hard and not let it blow out beyond three figures.
Back to 63 points. 23, almost 24 minutes gone. His final term. Sutton. Silver had it. Karanaya. And now Baker. Baker inside. Havea's there running onto it. Havea cleverly taps it forward. Backwards now though. Williamson there for the Roos. And it's through for a rush behind. So 15-15, 105, 5-11, 41. Clarence's season almost done and dusted for 2018. Joining the Tigers and North Hobart as the teams with the queue in the rack for this season. Free kick being paid here to the Bombers. Inside, Karanaya was the target. Didn't work out. And the Roos get another one before full time. Here's Cunliffe. Troy Cunliffe had a good year since switching over from Lindisfarne, the William Leach medalist, and
Good kick.
it was a good kick. And Speedy Stanton will line up right behind this one as well.
He was a player that missed a lot of footy too this year for Clarence.
Yeah, he was out for a long time, wasn't he? So Trent Standen, that looks really good. Splits the middle, and he's happy with it too.
I reckon they're going to him, boys, and I reckon he might, I just wonder about that.
That's a really good call, Brownie, because he really celebrated that goal.
Yeah, maybe he's going to retire at the end of the year. I'm not sure. I nearly said the same thing last year when picked up a bit of body language on Ian Callanan, and he did retire after that last game. And I just wonder the symbolism of all the players running to him, the fact that he put his hand in the air.
It's a good call.
I reckon, no, they haven't done anyone else, have they?
I reckon that could be it for Trent Standen. And look, I hope not, because I think his best footy's still good enough at TSL level, but he's played for a number of years now. And if you were to pick a team of the last decade at TSL level, he's in it. Been a great player.
So Smith wins it down. We'll have to look for the chair off, Brownie. The guard of honour, I think Callanan got last year. Sutton, a little one inside. Punched away by Jones. Sniffing around is Gilby. Caught Jones high there. Be a free kick. Standard. It'd be a big loss to this outfit. One into the pocket. Brenner. Find Howlett. No, he won't. Harrison picks it up, drops it off for Bell Chambers. A powering long boot. Oh, Brenner almost. Avea now. Crunching tackle. Caught him high. Just everyone waiting for the siren, I think.
Just trying to think how old he'd be, Trent Standen. He's probably
30?
32, maybe?
Yeah. At least 30 plus. He was around for that premiership in 2010, was he?
33, I reckon he is.
33, so there you go. So I think that was quite poignant there, the way that the players ran to him.
Comes long from Harper. Bailey loses where he is. He knocked the mouth guard out of McManus. It's a fair free kick.
Well, even though...
I don't know what Castle's playing out here, pinning the bloke on the ground.
I think all he's trying to do is get a reaction and potentially get a player rubbed out from the opposition for next week, because that's the only thing that can happen from the Lauderdale perspective. So you've just got to keep your cool. And to their credit, they didn't get sucked in there.
Bell Chambers with ball in hand. He'll look to turn on the Jets. There it is. Lauderdale will play Launceston in week 2 of the finals. Clarence's season is done and dusted. And in fairly shocking fashion, a big win for the Bombers. 15-15-105. Defeats Clarence 6-11-47. It was set up with a blistering third term.
Yeah, it was, and a 58-point margin in the end. Well done to Clarence. They won the last quarter, but full credit to Lauderdale. They blew this game open, as you mentioned, Gill, in that third quarter. They just slammed on consecutive goals and came out firing after half-time, and they were the better team, even in the first half. Clarence probably just had a period of play late in the second quarter where they kicked a couple of goals, but as we can see, Mitch Anderton, he looks in a bit of trouble for mine, just the way he's walking towards the centre square there. So he may have some difficulty in getting up next week. He's got to be in some doubt. So that's unfortunate for him and Lauderdale, as he was running in a bit of form. But, gee, they were terrific tonight, particularly in the first 3 quarters. And they got through the last quarter unscathed, which was important for them. But right from the word go, Jacob Gilby looked a dangerous forward for them. Sutton's become a really consistent player. Boscott was lively. Caraneo, I thought, one of the better games he's played at this level. Robbie McManus off half-back. Shaw did a really good job on a quality opponent in Stanton. Baker won some footy. So they had lots of players, and they dominated the midfield too, Bell Chambers and Franklin. And to get 4 goals out of those players, it was a great result for them. And just looking on screen now, I think we might have called that right with Trent Standen, have we, boys?
Yeah, I think so. Just saw Windy gesture to his players to come on over towards the Clarence rooms. So I think we're about to see Trent Standen chaired off or given a guard of honour So the end of a terrific career.
It's been a brilliant career as a small forward. He's been a minimum at his prime and best. 3 goals a game, so dangerous, so quick, brilliant at ground level, leads up at the ball carrier, and played for his state, all those sorts of things. And he was late coming to TSL footy, wasn't he? He spent some time away at a different, in a different competition before he kind of got burst on the scene after playing under 19 footy for Clarence. And he's been a difficult opponent and match-up, and he's had a wonderful career, and don't be surprised if he bobs up at a lower league. Who knows, he might get into coaching, but he's had a decorated career. And as I mentioned, if you were going to pick a team of the last 10 years of TSL footy, you lock him in as forward pocket every day of the week, and he's he's got such wonderful forward craft.
Lovely touch this from the Bombers. So we know these two teams are fierce rivals, but fantastic stuff.
Yeah, well, that's great, and we don't often see this at TSL level. And it wasn't great. He was able to get on the scoreboard, and I thought he tried really hard tonight, boys. He just didn't have the opportunities, and he's chaired off by Webberley and Jones, 2 guys he's played probably well over 100 games of footy with.
One his brother-in-law, actually.
So there you go, and it wasn't his night tonight, but he still had a moment there late in the last quarter with a really nice finish. But a disappointing end for him and the Roos tonight. At least they stuck at it for the last quarter, but they were just outclassed, and Lauderdale had too much experience. And Clarence had some trouble, didn't they, getting out of the back half early on in the game, and Lauderdale were able to lock it in, get some inside 50 entries. Clarence weren't able to slow the game up, and in that third quarter when Lauderdale just got on a run and carry, and they will go into next week, I would have thought, boys, with a fair degree of confidence against a Launceston team who would still be really kicking themselves after losing what looked like a comfortable game for them at half-time against Glenorchy earlier on this afternoon.
Yeah, it sets up very, very well. Do you have the goal kickers there, Brownie? Or Breno can read them out?
I do. I could have told you before the game who'd be the leading goal kicker.
So Gilby ended up with 5 for the Bombers, 2 each to Karanaya, Wiggins, Bell Chambers and Nat Franklin, and singles to Lamses and Alex Hill. And for the Roos, 2 goals to Jeremy Webberley and singles to Troy Cunliffe, Tim Castle and Paprotny as well. So there you have it, boys.
A big win for Lauderdale. They march on and they'll play Launceston next week. Meanwhile, Glenorchy will face North Launceston. 2 big games coming up. We'll have them live for you again on this very YouTube channel. Hope you've enjoyed today's coverage. It's been a pleasure bringing it to you. Bye for now.